Hi, everybody. Matt here from Matt Likes Comics. And before we get too far in, yes, my voice is still there. My throat has just taken an absolute beating the last 2.5 weeks. So I'm going to try and push through this because I have a very special and interesting guest with me tonight. Tonight I have Chris, better known on the chat and on YouTube as Cram Bradley. He's come to join us tonight. Chris represents the new guard, so to speak, of the comic industry. He's one of the more, shall we say, younger and fresher faces in comics. And it's good to see that is continuing. Hi, Chris. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for having me on, as always. The last show was super fun.
Yes, for those that haven't seen it, Cram was on one episode with Steppo and I on the Superman show. I think it was about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months.
And Eric from SideQuest was on.
And Eric from SideQuest Comics was with us, and we had a blast. It was a lot of fun. And after that, I contacted Chris and I said, "Hey, why don't you come on the Tuesday night show?" And this was the first night we could find for him. So, Chris, what have you been up to?
Nothing much. Mostly work and other things like that. I have bought a couple new books since the last show, which I'm excited to display. And I'm still going on with my 1960 collecting, which is what I got right here. It's been doing well.
It's just amazing that not only are you drawn to comic books, but you are drawn to older books as well. So I'm going to ask you the obvious question that a lot of people will ask on a show like this. What drew you to comic books?
So when I was a kid, I remember, I'm 21, so this was not too long ago, but probably when I was about 7 or 8, in the summertime, I had to go to daycare. Both my parents worked. And there was this kid there who was telling me about Batman the Animated Series. And he said, "Oh, it's a great show." And he's like, I have all the DVDs at home, all this other stuff. And it really piqued my interest because as a kid, I loved Spider-Man, I loved Batman, but I didn't really read the comics. And then so I started really kind of pushing to watch the animated series. And then I did that. And I was just I just became obsessed with Batman. And then so eventually, funny enough, Big Bang Theory, which that show, for some reason it came on as a kid, and I saw them in the comic book store, like in these scenes. And I'm like, God, I want to pick through comic boxes. I was like, I want to do that. So I started really just begging my parents to take me to these 2 comic book stores near us. And so I started picking up issues. And I was telling Matt earlier, I got this 100 issue lot off of eBay. Something I wouldn't buy now, but it was really great for reading material. And there was really broad stuff. There was the OMAC miniseries with John Byrne. There was a bunch of Marvel stuff from the 90s, a bunch of Batman stuff from the 80s, and all these like random, and it really got me involved in reading. And so we would go back and forth, and I didn't know what bags and boards were. So when I got my comics, they were unbagged, unboarded. They got read to pieces. I read them over and over and over again. And so I was just, kind of ferrying back and forth. And then I got through middle school, all that other stuff. I still didn't really know about collecting single issues. I didn't know anything. And then in high school, I started. And so I started just picking up random issues of Batman. I thought, maybe I'll try a Batman Volume 1 run. And that turned out to be
a rough run.
Yeah. And so I ended up doing that. And that was my first labor of love as a collector. And I got 367 to 713 of full complete run.
Nice. That's a hell of a run.
Yeah.
One thing I did like and noticed about Batman that I thought was pretty cool was that Batman got to keep his numbering after Crisis, where Superman had to lose, like it went to Adventures of Superman and started with a new Superman, and Wonder Woman started with a new one, Justice League started with, etc. They all else got, but Batman got to keep its one because it was also getting very close to issue 400. So
yes,
that was one of the reasons I think they kept it.
Yeah, and I got that full run, and it was, oh my God, I actually did it relatively fast. It only took me about a year and a half, but I spent so much money. I was such a new collector. I would go to these stores and I'd pick up like 90s issues for like, way, way more than I should have been. Because I'm like, well, I can't find these anywhere else. So I pick it up, and a lot of those issues I found for, $1 or $2.
Yeah.
Now, but it's just the way that it goes. But now I have very little of my Batman run. It's all I ended up selling it. I've sold a lot of my books a couple times, but it's helped me out because I don't have as much of an attachment. I love comics. I love reading them.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have to sell them, I have to sell them. I'm not like, if it, it's helped me in that way.
Fair enough. So before we get much further, let's take a couple minutes to say hi to everybody who decided to come and join us tonight. Hi, everybody who decided to come and join us. Yes, I'm stealing it from Alan's channel. I do that a lot. We've got Kay Munin in the house. Good to see you, Andres.
Hey, Kay Munin.
Mark Mueller is here.
Mark Mueller.
Mark is right that I'm closing in on 800 subs. We are 39 short. When we get there, we are going to have a nice big giveaway. But I also want to point out that Mark is only about 7. I think when I last looked, he had 93 or 94 subs. And he's doing a giveaway at 101. So if you guys haven't subbed Mark Mueller at Mark's Archie's Comics, go and do so. Mark is also going to be on the Superman show this weekend with me, and my other guest will be Steven. We're going to have a little different Superman show this Sunday. So we're hoping that people will come for that. We've got Robbie Josephs in the chat.
Robbie.
Hi, Robbie. It's good to see you here. And we've got Tan in the chat. Hi, Tan. Thank you very much for the super chat. And let's see, we've got Jeff Jack here. Hi, Jeff. Jeff just recently became a member of the channel.
Great.
We've got Second Floor Comics. Hi, Lewis. And let's see, we've got Rob Saint is here. Hi, Rob. We're going to get to the comics, I promise. We've got Mike Pope is here. Hi, Mike. Dope is here. Hi, Dope. It's good to see you here. Hope you're having a great time. We've got
that's my boy.
That's my boy right there. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Steven's in the chat. Hi, Steven.
How are you, Steven?
Lyle's in the chat. Hi, Lyle. And we've got the amazing JS and award-winning Wrench JSS Brooklyn. Doc's in the crowd. Hi, Man Cave. Good to see you. And Jason from Archivist Adrift is here.
Archivist.
Adam is here, Up in Adam Comics, who's been absolutely hilarious on Instagram this week. If you have not seen his Instagrams, he's been doing a bunch of Elf on the Shelf jokes with YouTubers that have been hilarious. Let's see. Maybe it. Oh no, we've got a Archivist. Thank you very much.
Chongo and Dr. Wortham did nothing wrong. One of those is right. Chongo did nothing wrong.
Well, exactly. All right. So that's everybody in the chat right now. Thank you very much for coming. So, Chris.
Yes.
What do you like to collect the most? We've talked about your Batman run, but is Batman still your biggest, or do you have something else?
Since I sold my run, I really find it hard for me to pick up the issues. I don't know if it's bad feelings towards selling it, but it's just I find Batman's always just top priced to the top. It's very hard for me to find deals with Batman. I can find great deals with Superman or Adventure or Action, even Detective. But Batman Volume 1, I try to stay away from. So now, mostly I'm collecting. I've been focusing on 1960, trying to get all the DC comics from that year. Right. I just updated my list. I'm removing certain things. I'm removing the funny books, so TV screen cartoons, Sergeant Bilko, Private Doberman, the books I don't care about. I'm scrapping those, but I'm keeping all the main titles and then all the westerns and all the romance.
That alone is one hell. Well, 1960 was a big year. It's probably still a decent amount of comic book companies out there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I mostly collect that, and now that I've been reading more Golden Age DC, I would like to. Obviously, I can't be as complete. I can't be a completist, but I would like
No,
to own a select few issues. But I love ACG. I love the at least art wise for those books. Love ACG. I love a lot of the Harvey romance books. I'm a big romance comic guy, and
mhm.
so yeah, that's all this. I'm mostly a DC collector. I have some Marvel books, but I cut my teeth on DC. So Marvel is a very secondary thing for me. Though I do have a couple characters who I do like. In general, I'm sort of just DC all the way. But
Hi, Brian. Good to see you.
hey,
Well, that is cool. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make you big. We're going to get into the showing the comics.
perfect.
But could totally relate on you about these runs. My action run is from 324 up, complete.
Yes.
But I got really lucky. I have managed to go to a store that was closing, and I got 75 issues of that run for 50 cents a piece.
Wow.
Because they were just trying to get everything out. So I will admit I got lucky. And these are mostly the books in the 600s and the 700s where some of the ones that are going to be in dollar bins anyway. But the fact that they were there in order and I just whip,
Yeah, you just grab them, yeah.
made me get a huge chunk at once. So it is possible. But I agree with you too, because I'm at the point now where the average book I'm buying just in the 300s is probably about $25 American.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's at the point where now, like, because it's what I'm missing mostly are things like the 80-page giants and the keys, the ones that are starting to be a little more key, harder to find, and that kind of stuff. The 80-page giants are really hard to find with the spines together. So I do try to avoid split spines as much as possible. So I've actually turned down a couple where the spine was split a little too much. It's just if I'm going to buy it, I want to be able to flip through it, not wreck it more, and enjoy it. I may never read it again, but the fact is, I like to read everything I get once.
Yes.
So let's make you big, and let's get on with the show.
All right.
Hang on.
You're good. Okay. So these are some new pickups of mine. I was kind of debating if I should target Superman first for 1960 or if I should do Batman, but Batman is just every book, no matter what, is either going to be between $60 or $100 or $150.
Well, I think that's the big, as I said, we were talking before about the sci-fi era of Batman that was in between the sort of the weird, the zebra costumes and the colored costumes and all that stuff. I think 1960s right in the middle of that era. So
yeah, 1960 has some. Well, there are some cool books. There's like Kite Man, the first appearance of, and that's kind of neat. And now, especially I like him after the Harley show. He's pretty good in the Tom King run as well.
Before we get too much further, we have a question from K Munin. What is your opinion on Nightwing?
I like Nightwing. I think honestly, the only member of the Bat family I don't care for. I was just talking about Azrael. I like Azrael, but during Nightfall, I had a little, you're not supposed to really like him. He's really in a mental downslide. But I've never really cared for him. And the only other person I can think is when I was a kid, I didn't like Jason, which I notice a lot of people now, they say, oh my God, it's horrible, the vote and everything like that. But I remember when I was a kid, I always found him extremely obnoxious.
I voted to kill him. I actually spent the money and voted to kill him.
Well, and I think what it is like when you're a kid reading those books, you don't want to read another kid being angsty. You don't want to. I found when I was a kid, I didn't connect with Jason. I just thought he's obnoxious, and I just want to But
I voted to kill him not because I necessarily found him obnoxious and whiny. I actually liked a couple of the storylines before Crisis. But it was more of this could end up being a really cool storyline. So I'm going to vote to kill him.
Yeah. Well, and I think it ended up being a good decision. But now that I've reread the stories, I'm like, oh, he's fine. He's just like, he wasn't written badly or anything like that. He's just a normal kid. But I'll start off with these are some of the new.
There we go. Perfect.
All right. So this is from January, cover date January 1960. The camera's not the best, but and this was one of the recent pickups.
What issue number is that?
This is issue number 134.
Very cool.
I haven't read this guy. I've read the Action Comics from this month, but I haven't read Superman. Here is May. I have a couple missing, so I only have 4 issues from 1960 for Superman. But
it's still 4 more than I have. 1960 is a year I'm actually don't have any from. That's a good one though. The 4 Faces of Superman. I haven't read it. That is a great story.
Yeah, I was able to pick up all of these for I think $10 a piece on eBay.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so they're lower grade, but for the 1960 collection, unless it's like a very specific book, most of them I'm fine with lower grade. If I want to replace them later on, I will. Here's this guy.
That's a fun one.
Yes. I don't have the mermaid cover that Chandra talked about, but that is next on my list. It was funny too. The books he mentioned in the video, I was like, "Oh God, those are on my." I said those are on my want list. The zebra cover, and that's January of 1960, and then the mermaid cover. All right.
Well, that answers a question I have. I was thinking, were you going for calendar 60 or books cover that are dated 1960? So you're going for cover date. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot easier. Yeah, I think I showed this last episode, but I figured I'd show it in a list.
Smack dab in the guerrilla era.
Yeah, it's easier to do cover date for certain things because I think for Superman and Batman, you can kind of generally gauge the release compared to the cover. But for the smaller books, like the romance titles and other things like that, I couldn't easily find data on when it came out. So I'm doing cover date 1960, and I was talking to Robbie actually about this. Thank you, Second Floor. I might go to March of 61 because the whole thing was I wanted the 10 cent without the bots for 1960, and March is a weird month. So Brave and the Bold, it doesn't have the bots. Superman has the bots. Batman has the bots. So I might go to that point, but I'm not
1960 is a pretty expensive year for Brave and the Bold.
It is. Because
number 28 in particular.
Yeah, because you have that, and then Showcase also has I think for Sea Devils, and then when you go into 61, you get Aquaman and you get Hawkman. Hawkman's March 61. Aquaman's either February or January. But then I got this guy recently. This is a
very nice. That is a fun one.
It was a great pickup. It was $35.
Hold that up. Twinsies.
Oh shit! There you go.
I happen to have it out for something else, so
it's great. And somebody talked about that long leg.
Yes,
but it's to fit the kryptonite. He was really pissed about that.
Biggie Shack talks about it quite a bit. And yes, Neil Adams was a little pissed about that. I've spoken to him about that too. He was Neil Adams was I will say a very interesting guy.
Yes,
it's the best way to put it because he could be out there with some of his, especially with his Hollow Earth theories. But when he was talking comic books, he got so passionate. And he got so into it. It was a lot of fun.
I didn't know about his Hollow Earth theories.
Oh yes, he's got some weird theories about the planet.
Well, there you go. Here is last time we had talked about the Pete Lamb books that I picked up.
Yes.
And this was one of them. This is the only Atlas book that they had. And I saw it and I was like, oh, so $10.
Good price.
Yeah, and there's some Marvel chipping on the edge, but that's to be expected. These books are really, really cheap, as I've talked with Steven about. that right now ever since it was pointed out to me. Yeah, the same thing for me. My favorite Neil Adams Batman cover is Batman 244 with the sword fight with Batman lying down with the sword in his chest and Ra's over him, and then the people in the background. Ra's al Ghul is my favorite Batman villain. Has been since I was a kid. So that cover I love, but when you look at it, he has like the full bat suit on, but Batman still has pants. It's not like the shirt and the belt. It's there's certain things you can find with. So here's not a DC book at all. This is a Fiction House issue.
Very
of
nice.
The Spirit. Again, I wish I had slightly better lighting in here. But
how long did that Fiction House series go? 6
issues, I think. This is issue number 2. I bought this actually on my comic shop. I don't have a bell.
Now, did Eisner work on that one directly, or did they have somebody else do it?
I think it was Eisner. I don't know much about the. I'm
a big Will Eisner fan, so I'm very curious.
I do too. I really like him as well. The one issue is I really like the Spirit, but I don't. Ebony is a little bit of an uncomfortable character, and having him on the cover for a lot of those Spirit issues, I kind of that's sort of why I liked this one better. And I know Eisner later on sort of talked about that, and he said, "Well, I didn't mean any sort of but I've seen Bob Fujitani talk about that on one of Comic Book Historians' channels, and I kind of agree with him that I don't think they thought that was a great idea back then anyway.
There were my understandings is there were a lot of them that were told they had to do that way, and they didn't necessarily want to do it because apparently the public expected it. I recently watched a YouTube video on the 11 band Warner Brother cartoons, and the guys who did it and involved with it, a lot of them have said we didn't want to do it this way. Our bosses told us to.
Yeah, and I can definitely believe that. The only reason I might be like a little hesitant with Eisner is because I think at that point he would have maybe had enough sway since they were running the studio together.
Well, exactly. So Eisner always was a big name, so it's kind of surprising.
Yeah. I just picked this guy up recently.
That's a great issue. That's one I don't have, but it's on my want list for next year.
I was able to pick this guy up it was $3. There's a shop that you've seen it in because I'm in Western Mass as well. You've just seen it in Lunch Money's videos. He goes to His and Her Comics, which is in Greenville. Wow. And I bought this from there, and he had a whole box of Bronze Age for $3 a pop. So I went in and I got this, and I got a couple other issues. Here, speaking of Bronze Age, I haven't read this story, but I love this cover. And the first
time, a fun cardy. That's a fun cover.
Yeah. And the first time I ever saw it, I was like, this is killer. And there's also a date stamp on it.
I love date stamps. There's a lot of people that don't like date stamps, but I have said consistently over and over, I love date stamps because it adds a little bit of authenticity to the book. Yeah. It just makes me feel like, I'm part of the history that way.
Well, and it can be cool too for finding out when this book released. Because if you have the date stamp on it, then you could be like, well, this is April of 74, but you see LMC talks. What did he say right there?
He said Lunch Money Comics talks about that LCS so much I want to visit.
It's a really good shop. That's where I found that Superman issue, that Neil Adams issue. He sold it for $35. So I've gotten really lucky there. I enjoy visiting. It's a nice shop, good lighting, all that other stuff. So I talked to Matt about this. I haven't read too many Legion issues, but the two I have read are the first appearance, which I read today, and then I read this issue, which I got for free from a friend. Not technically for free, but I drove to pick him up to drop him off at an airport, but he gave me.
That's a great book to have. That is one of the biggest keys of the adventure run. First appearance of those 4 characters on there. First ever Jim Shooter book. That's a great one to have.
And it's after watching his interview. Do you watch the Comic Book Historians YouTube channel?
I've caught it once or twice, but I don't watch. I don't listen or watch on a regular basis.
Well, so he did a biographical interview with Jim Shooter, who's passed away now.
Yeah.
But he did this great biographical interview with him, and they talked about how he got his start, all this other stuff. And it's 6 hours long, I think. It's like one of the greatest. I love interviews, so I love interviews.
I got to meet Jim Shooter, and I talked to him probably for about 90 minutes.
Oh my God. I
got a lot of great stories out of him. Unfortunately, something happened that weekend and he had to leave because I had talked to him on the Friday and I asked if I could come back on the Sunday with a recorder. Mm-hmm. And he's like, sure. Because I was doing a blog back then on comic books.
Cool.
Yeah. So unfortunately he had to leave the show on Saturday. Something personal had come up and he had to leave. So
that sucks. But no, watching the interview, Fortress is really inspiring. Was really not competitive. No, the Showcase Series catapulted the Super Baits. Yes, we've talked about that. And I think around when I started this 1960 collection, I had been looking at I was looking at the books that I had from that collection I picked up in, not collection, but those books I picked up in Connecticut. And I realized I had a lot of 1960 books. And I'd wanted to collect a year. Originally, it was going to be 65. But I noticed, well, I already have a head start. I have, like 15, 20 issues. So I just started from there. And I found out there were so many great issues from that year. And so that's where I went from there. But with the Jim Shooter interview, it was really good. And he talks a lot about Mort Weisinger. And he had really, really bad experiences with Mort, like a lot of other people.
Yes, a lot of other people. That was actually probably 15 minutes of our conversation of him bitching about Mort.
Well, and I think it's more, with the other guys, they're all adult, the ones who dealt with him. But at that time, Jim was, 14 when he sold the story, I think.
Exactly. He was 14 years old, 13 years old when he wrote it, and 14 when he sold it. Yep.
Yeah, and he was 15, 16, 17 writing for Adventure and then later for Superman and all that other stuff. And, he talked about in that interview how they used to call every Thursday when, how close am I? I'm probably I want to be conservative here. I'd say about a sixth of the way through. So I have about 50 or 60 books.
Very cool.
I think 66 or 64.
Are you using the old website Mike's Amazing DC Comics?
No, I'm not.
DC's Mike's. Yeah, he passed away not too long ago, but before he passed away, he would put up every single book. He had a Wayback Machine, whatever you want to call it, in the sense that you could see every book that was on the newsstand by cover date from 1933 till the day he stopped doing it just before he died.
Wow, I need to go to the web. Just what I was using was Fandom, DC Fandom, a couple other websites, trying to compile what I could for the month. But I'll have to check that out.
It's the Mike's Amazing World of DC Comics. If it's still out there, if it's gone, I apologize because he has passed away, as I said. But it's a great resource.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. But no. So Jim Shooter, he talked about it in the near. I just think it's extremely heinous. The thing is, though, he was like 15, 16, getting yelled at every Thursday. Just they used to talk on the phone every Thursday when the 66 Batman show would run, and Mort would just belittle him. Here's a book I picked up. Let's see. That's not bad. There we go.
Kurt, what a lot of people don't realize is that Kurt Swan actually quit DC Comics for 6 months because Mort drove him to the point where he was having headaches all the time. But Kurt went into the ad business for about 6 months and discovered he couldn't make a lot of money there. And he sat back and said, you know what, putting up with Mort isn't that bad. And he went back. He only had to put up with Mort for 2 more years after that. So it was pretty.
Mort got canned, right?
No, Mort retired.
Oh, he retired.
Mort retired in 1970. So he retired, and then Julius Schwartz took over his job. And people found Julie a lot easier to work with than Mort.
I've heard that before. Although later on it came out something about him being a little bit.
Julie apparently is very handsy.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Here's a Atlas book right here, war book from the early 50s. It's battle number 16 or 19. It's this great bayonet cover. Sorry, I used to have a lamp right here. The lighting was a lot better then. The camera's quality was better. But this is a great book that I picked up again from my comic shop. Here's another great issue.
I heard the magic word.
Yep. Here's another great issue. First appearance of Polka Dot Man.
Polka Dot. You know, my favorite one from that era was Dr. Double X. I need to get that book.
I'm really blanking. Really, for the 60s, I have very little, not zero knowledge, but my knowledge of superheroes is a lot. My knowledge of his villains is a lot smaller. We also have Steven Yeager. Let's see. I might not have brought enough books. I might have to. Let's see. All right, here are two other. So Dave Stevens was somebody I got introduced to, and I'm not the world's biggest.
Is a very popular choice out here in our
yes, and I hadn't seen his work before, and then I saw his Rocketeer stuff, and I don't love his more risque covers, but I like his more subtle ones. But I ended up picking up. I have 2 issues of Pacific Comics.
Oh, that's awesome.
So these guys, I got one for $25, which is obviously in a lot better shape, but the other one I got for $3 at
wow.
And these are great.
Here we go.
Mike's
Amazing World of DC Comics is still active and seemingly up to date. They have Absolute Batman listed. Well, it doesn't surprise me there, Louis. Thank you for checking that on for us. That is a great resource. I recommend. Alan didn't know about it. I showed it to him. He's used it quite a bit since. So
that's great. No, I have to go back and I'll have to look at it. But this comic as well. It has. I don't know if you've seen this issue before, Matt? They probably showed this before. I have to imagine on one of the shows. But it has a gallery of pinups in the back.
Yes, I know the issue you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's great. And one of the pinups that really got me was Murphy Anderson, because he drew one. He's this one right on the right.
Very nice.
Or I don't know, your left. I'm not sure what works.
Yeah, no, it's my left. You're right. That's very, very nice. The girl in the purple dress looked like she's got her hands tied behind her back, I guess.
I guess so. When I saw the line work on it, it's so clean, and that was what really got me. And also so when I saw this issue, I was like, all right, this is an immediate pickup for me. And when it comes to Dave Stevens, I also really like his there's the Crossfire issue that he did. But his Rocketeer stuff is just tremendous. Here's the Batman issue. So this is one of the ones that survived. The Great Purge. And that is
beauty. That's a beauty. 20-cent Batman is some of the best books out there.
Yes, it is. And
Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams.
Oh, it's just great. And 248 is a just tremendous issue. I don't know if
even the interior artist. I don't remember who did the interior art for Batman, because I know that Neil was doing mostly detective interiors, but he was doing the covers for both for a long time.
So Irv Novick.
Yes, okay.
Irv Novick did most of the interiors for these books. Sometimes you get like a beautiful issue and you'll have Neil who does the cover and he does the interior. But I even think Frank Robbins did because he did a lot of the writing for Batman and Detective. He died pretty young. I think he was only in his 50s, I think.
Well, a lot of people go on about why did comic creators die young. A lot of them were chain smokers.
Well, chain smokers, and it wasn't a super financially sound job.
So you weren't exactly eating well either, because you were working 20 hours a day sometimes.
Well, like Harlan Ellison talked about, I'm not a huge fan of his. Chris, do you mostly buy 60s books randomly as you find them, or do you have a plan to get certain books first? So I'm horrible with plans. I should have a plan, but usually what happens is I'll scoop out eBay and I'll find something that is a decent deal. Nothing, you never find anything really good, but I'll get lucky usually with romance books, or I'll get lucky with, the smaller titles that I'm picking up. Like Black Hawk is never usually expensive. You never usually have to shell out a whole lot. I would like
Black
to get
Hawk,
one.
no. 1960 though, Black Hawk was with DC, right?
Yes. Yeah, because they were quality for years and years, and then quality went under in the early 50s.
Early 50s. Okay, I thought it was late 50s, but
or maybe it's late 50s. I'm not sure.
No. You're probably right. It's probably about 55.
Yeah, because when they went out, there was a couple romance titles that quality had.
Yeah, love. I have a couple of the DC versions, like
Heartthrobs.
Heartthrobs
was one of them. That's actually, I think, my favorite romance title. Mm-hmm. I don't have as many as I used to, but and I have thought about getting into Golden Age collecting. The issue for me is I don't have a giant income, so it's harder for me. And the second thing is a lot of the issues I like are just like I love More Fun comics. I love All American. I like the non Batman titles. I love Batman in the Bronze Age, and I love him in later on, but I don't love him enough in the Golden Age to warrant me shelling out that much money. And if I could, I would want his detective appearances. Not all of them, obviously. Never could get Detective 27. It's just not a possibility for me. But his earlier appearances in the 30s, the late 30s, and early 40s, I'd maybe like to get into those. For All American, I find I'm a huge. I have one slab book. If I could go away for a second, could I go away?
Yes, you can.
All right, I'll grab a couple
more.
All right. So you can make yourself big for a second. I'll do that.
Do. Pretend I'm juggling. Do. We'll be right back. Remember when David Letterman used to do things like this? Get yourself a beverage. I need a background band. So, how's everybody doing out there? While he's doing this, I'm going to actually do some channel news. As I said, we have 39 to go for the big giveaway. Also, we've reached 15 channel members. I want to thank every one of you who has joined the channel. And I am hoping that we can get to the giveaway early in the new year, because at Christmas time it's tough to get out, and does it. I don't even know what a Hadouken is, Cam Munin. Not quite yet, Mark, but it's on my list of things to do this week, actually, because I would like to know what it is that I'm reading. I do like to spend. You know what? I am gaining more and more. I'm gaining an appreciation for these international books, between watching Mike from Lunch Money and seeing French Canadian books just about everywhere in the comic book stores I go to, living in Quebec. No crawler today? Oh, I did have a crawler. I forgot to put it up. Let's put that up now, just so that we can. There we go. All right. Because it does list all the members, which I always promise to do that in every video, that I would acknowledge the members. So that's where we're at. I've recorded the video with the prizes, so that's going to go up when we hit the 800 marks. The crawler went bam. Yes. And as I say to anybody who's joined, one of the benefits of membership for those that don't have memberships is you get to suggest topics to me that you'd like me to make videos about. I've done 5 now. I've got one coming soon, but I've done 5 that members have requested the topics. And so and all those videos seem to have done well. Oh, we've got, okay, Cram is back.
Okay, let me get these earbuds in real quick.
Yes, Lyle, that counts.
Okay, so the question had been, do I own any slabs? And I own exactly one. There was a long stint for a little bit after I sold part of my collection where I had none. But recently, a buddy of mine by the name of Silver Age, you can find him on Instagram, he had a book for sale. And I'm a big Batman fan. And so I didn't really have any Golden Age issues. So I picked up this guy. Let's see.
Nice. Who's the girl on the cover?
Vicky Vale.
Vicky Vale, of course. I should have guessed that.
This is one of her. She only has a couple Golden Age appearances, Golden Age cover appearances. Her first one is that first appearance of Mad Hatter, which is, I forget which Batman issue it is, but that's one of them. But her first cover appearance, I think, is in a Tech issue, and then this is like her second or third, probably third. And this is from October to November of 53, since it was bi-monthly.
That is beautiful. That's for a 6.0. That's a beautiful cover. The blue is absolutely fantastic.
I'm just noticing, it's a little bit of scratching on the case, but no, it's off white to white, so not too bad for page quality. There's a little bit the way the cover rides a little bit. You can see some of the inner pages, but yeah, this is my only slab. So I would like to get into collecting more Golden Age. Wouldn't be Batman more than likely, and I do want to end up picking up Fiction House. The issue I have, which might be a little controversial for the crowd, but I'll worry about this later. I'll worry about putting that back in the bag later. I don't love the jungle covers from Fiction House. I liked the modern issues. So in Fight Comics, they have some of the war, like those I love. I would love to pick up some of those. While I was up there, I found something which isn't a comic book, but I'm a big fan of the Fallout series. No, you can't. You can't. And I love Fight Comics is probably my favorite from the covers I've seen. But this isn't a real comic, but it's a something I bought off Pinterest. It's from Fallout. It's this magazine.
Very nice.
Yeah. So it's a little notebook, but it was something cool that I got off Pinterest. So there's both of my interests right there. Here's another issue I got from a buddy.
Oh, there's Adventure 425.
Yeah, and his first appearance of Captain, I can't remember what his name is, Captain something.
Yeah. Don't worry, it's also his last appearance.
Yes, but the copy was really nice, and my buddy just wanted to get rid of it, and so I just paid shipping. I think I talked about that last live I was on. I got the Superman Annual 1 from him, this and an issue of Wonder Woman for cost of shipping. He didn't charge me any money for it. We were talking about Giants. Now, these aren't the 80 pages, but this is when they started, putting the 50-cent cover price on Giants and Wonder Woman. So this was another his and her pickup, and $3.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Now, I have to say, I like watching Future Past Vintage Collectibles, and they talk about how you kind of get Mylar goggles sometimes, and this isn't a Mylar, but sometimes a bag can make a book, look a lot nicer than it is, but it's in good shape.
I agree. I agree. Dave from there has some wonderful advice about bags and boards. Actually,
he's great. I really enjoy watching their channel. Him and his daughter are very, very, they seem like very good people. I just wanted to go back to this issue. The story in this is really outrageous. I don't know if you've ever read it before. But But the whole idea is that this guy right here is a World War II veteran, and he was a lieutenant in the Navy, and he ratted out his crew for diamonds. So he ratted them out to the Japanese, and so he gave away their position. And he has this, cache. He has this cache of diamonds hidden somewhere. And right as he was about to get to them, the Marines were chasing after him. They were going to kill him because they found out his treachery. A Japanese Zero came down and took down the ship. So the kamikaze pilot flew down and blew up the ship. And so he ends up going to jail. He doesn't die. And then he gets out of jail right when the story takes place, in the mid-70s. And he goes back to the ship because the aircraft carrier survived. They were able to recover it. The crew died, but the ship was able to be saved. And it turns out that the cache is hidden in the aircraft carrier. So Batman Batman follows the pilot there. The pilot gets followed by criminals. And as he's looking for the cache, he has a flashback and he sees a ghost plane flying at him.
Yeah.
And Batman, in order to defeat him in the situation, plays into the flashback and says, "Yeah, they're coming for you. They're coming for you." And so he jumps over the aircraft carrier, and instead of landing in the water like he did before, he lands on one of the life rafts and he dies. And then that was the end of the story. And you think it's all in his head, but Batman, for some reason, hears the ghosts of the planes as well. So it's a really bizarre story, but it's a fun read.
Well, that's a typical 1970s story.
Yeah. And here we were talking about romance.
Yes, Girls Romance. That's, I think, one of the titles.
Yes, and I love this. I love the yellow on this cover.
I love the fact that they changed their logo for the romance titles.
Yes, National Romance Group. Yep, it's just great. And the other thing too about these books is not this one, but you start getting John Romita Sr. in a lot of them, and they're just just great covers. And this I got for I think $9 or $10. You can get them pretty easy on eBay sometimes because, sometimes you're risking what it's going to look like when it gets shipped to you, because some people don't really quite know how to pack comic books correctly. And then I just got 3 more books. And I got one other.
Sorry.
Thing. No, you're fine. You're fine. So this isn't a comic, but we were talking about my my starting and collecting, and this is way before I ever collected a comic book. But we were in a bookstore as a kid. I love Batman, so I picked up this, and now it is beat to pieces.
I have that, and I've killed that book.
Oh yeah. Well, you can see a little bit from the spine right there, and I have my
back though, but.
Yeah, and I have my address written in here just in case I lost it, because I think that was a big fear of mine when I was a kid. But I used to pick through this thing all the time, and that's how I learned about, bizarre characters like Prometheus and people who don't really show up a lot in modern comics, but gave me a huge appreciation for Batman. And
I have to say, the psychological profiles they use in the in that Batman book to talk about him as Bruce Wayne are really smart. Yeah, they got their people together for that.
No, it's great. And it has all these great panels and other things like that from, just great stuff. And speaking of a Golden Age hero, because we were talking about Golden Age comics, I got to meet Steve Englehart.
Nice.
At Terrificon. And I should have brought that book down, but I'm trying to create a kind of a jam piece, I guess you could call it. But it's I'm trying to get as many Batman writers and artists and voice actors that I meet out in the wild to sign it. And it's a sketch cover of Detective Comics 31. So I thought it was a good kind of thing to mark up. But I met him, and this is the first, since the Golden Age, the first appearance of Hugo Strange. And
yes, what a beautiful book.
I love this book, and I love Hugo Strange. He's one of my favorite characters. There's a great cover of him from Gotham Knights where you see Batman being rained on in his glasses, and that's just a stellar cover.
There was a good Hugo Strange story in issues 11 to 15 of Batman Legends of the Dark Knight. If you haven't read that, you should give it a read.
I'll have to give it a read. He's a great character, and I don't think he gets utilized enough. And I don't think he was the best in the animated series, but
he was really good on Gotham. D.B. Wong played him. Awesome.
Here's another book. This I got just recently from my
an homage cover.
Yes, an homage cover to Old Action Comics #1. And I got this for free from my uncle, who I found out has a pretty big collection of comics. So I got this and another Todd McFarlane cover and Dazzler #1. But those were upstairs. Now, this is the last book I have right here. But this is one of my favorite covers. And I think this is an artist for Batman who doesn't get enough appreciation. Cram is from Fallout. That was the connection in. There's it's like Spam. But in the Fallout games, it's called Cram. And so it combines two of the things I like, which is Cram Bradley, which is DC as a whole, and then Fallout. So that's the combination. And actually, my Instagram profile is a poorly edited photo of it's Cram Bradley, and then over his head is a can of Cram. But here's the cover of Tech 678, and I need to read this. I'll probably read it after we call it quits for tonight. But this is Graham Nolan, and his art is just beautiful, and I love this cover.
Yep. And
he has a lot of great covers from the run. The Fallout TV show, I'd say it is worth watching. I think you enjoy it a lot more when you played the games and other things like that, but I'm just a huge fan of it, so it's a great show. It's really well worth the watch. Great actors, and Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan's brother, does the writing for it, and it's really
very cool.
Really good.
I'm not familiar with the video game, so it didn't even occur to me to watch it, but
it's all good.
I'm old and I haven't played. The newest video game I ever played was Lord of the Rings Online, and that was 12 years ago.
So actually, Fallout, it started off in the 90s as it's a top-down. It started off as a top-down video game.
Okay.
Sort of, it's an RPG, so it was I don't know what the word to describe it, but it's isometric gameplay. So but that was the origins, and then turned into all this other stuff. But I've been a huge fan of it, and so a lot of my love for the Silver Age and for the Golden Age comes from when I was a kid, getting into that game, which is it's retro futurism. And then also when I was a kid, I watched a lot of 50s and 60s movies and other things like that. So I love 50s and 60s music and 40s and the 30s. So most of my posts will have that music under it.
Yeah, the majority of my music is from 1960s progressive rock to 1980s new wave. It's all. I'm a huge music fan, and Steve and I have talked about that quite a lot. But no, I love music. Yes, and today, of course, is the day after the 45th anniversary of the worst day in music for us. John Lennon's death was already 45 years ago.
Yeah. Crazy.
Kind of, and I remember that as a kid. I remember, like my mom actually cried because she really liked the Beatles a lot. So
yeah,
I remember that.
He's December 8th.
No, he was December 9th. Wow. Yes, December 8th is his death. Sorry, October 9th is his birthday. Yes.
We've had two bizarre anniversaries. We had Pearl Harbor, and we have John Lennon's death. But no, I would like to get into Golden Age collecting. There's plenty of great places. There's all great stuff to collect. I mean, you could live a whole life. You could have unlimited funds. You can't collect everything. It's sort of
I know it's true. It's true. And even those with unlimited funds still try to have to decide, is it worth it or not? Right. So
yeah, you just had when Christine Farrell sold, there was the other collection, the DC Universe collection. And that was also, but he had a lot more money, I think, than Christine Farrell had.
Yeah.
But that still took him years.
Chris, I want to give you a big thank you for coming tonight. This was a lot of fun. You showed a lot of great books, and which heartens me because it means to me I've been a big, not worried that where I'm spending my whole life going about it, but I have been nervous about what the future of the hobby is going to be.
Mhm.
And if there's a lot more people like you out there, then the hobby is going to be in great hands. And on behalf of everybody who can't speak to you directly right now, I say thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it.
And now I want to also say thank you to everybody who's watched it, joined us tonight and watched us. And for those that are going to watch us on the rerun, just remember my voice will get better. Right now, I sound like Louis Armstrong on some weird, at least in my mind.
No,
So
you're
thank
fine.
you all for coming tonight. My name is Matt. I like comics, and I hope you do too. Thanks, everybody. Next week, my guest will be Stevie D.